Hello, welcome to Author's Talk by Trishna. Story 7, Horror in a Dormitory. Part 1. Let's begin. Upendra Gohan was on tenterhooks. He marched non-stop on the terrace of his house in agitation from one end to the other and back. The court notice had completely shaken him out of his inertia. The hearing was due in 2 months. He would have to arrange for a lawyer, prepare for cross arguments, and so on. It wasn't going to be easy. His chances to win the case were as good as the possibility of pigs flying in the sky. He would have to figure out a way to wriggle out of his mess. As per the protocol, his cousin Haridev should have had equal share in the tea estate and the palatial house. The property inherited from their fathers were brothers. Soon after Upendra had finished his college, a tragedy struck. One dark night, both his and Haridev's parents were brutally murdered by the cats who had the information about a huge sum of money lying in the house. Upendra was away visiting his maternal uncle and had thus escaped the same fate. Haridev was studying in a boarding school then. Upendra had taken over the estate immediately and supported Haridev's education. Later, when Haridev graduated from college and demanded his share, he was given a small part of the estate and some money, enough only to buy a small house. Though Haridev had clearly felt cheated, he was too soft to protest against his cousin who had supported him till then. 20 years ago, Haridev had got married to Himanta, a woman with beauty and brains. Things were fine for a few years and then Haridev began to put pressure on his cousin for equal share in the house and the Kong tea estate. Upendra kept ignoring him. Eventually, their relationship became bitter. And now Haridev had resorted to the last option, appeal in the court. Upendra's worry was if Haridev got his entitled share, what will be left for his sons? Haridev and Himanta had twin daughters, beautiful and smart like their mother. They had recently joined a college in Calcutta. Upendra was acutely pricked by this fact because all his 3 sons had turned out to be useless nincompoops. He had sent them to the best boarding schools, but none of them could get past 10th standard. It hadn't bothered him much. He had enough to provide for them. He had taught them the skills of running the tea estate and had decided to give each his separate share. But now the court case was going to change things. There will be waste of time and money over lengthy litigations, which was likely to go in Haridev's favor. And that would mean he wouldn't be left with much to bequeath to his sons who were used to nothing but opulence. Upendra folded the court notice and shoved it in his pocket. He then stood holding the railing, his eyes absorbing the beauty of his verdant estate in the middle of the picturesque rolling hills of Dibrugarh. But his mind was restless as an approaching storm. I might have cheated Haridev out of his share, but I've shed my blood and sweat all these years on this estate to grow the finest quality tea that's much in demand in the western countries. If I've grown rich, it's all because of my hard work. I won't part with even an inch of this land. The railing vibrated as he smacked his fist on it. It's all scheming Himanta's doing. She has poisoned Haridev's mind to claim their share. I'm sure she's the one behind this appeal in the court. She is a real pain in my neck, a thorn in my flesh. Something needs to be done urgently to teach this woman a lesson. Upen's mind was in a whirlwind, desperate to find the potent and easy solution. He would have to strike them, crush them, so that they would forget all about court cases and their shares. Behind Upen's tightly shut eyes and deep frown, his brain was now cooking up treacherous schemes. When he opened his eyes next, there was a sinister spark in them. A devilish smile played on his lips. His mind had hatched the brutal plot. He had decided to hit them where it would hurt the most. Let them spend the rest of their lives wallowing in the pain after losing their darling twins, Salmi and Santati. But I will have to be very careful. No one should ever be able to point a single finger at me. He immediately summoned his estate supervisor, Moidal. He had good news for him. He would get a big raise in his salary. Moidal had worked on Upendra's estate for the past 30 years and was now nearing 60. He had lost his wife many years ago and had brought up Udbala, his daughter, all by himself. Ubdala, the wild, lusty girl. What a pleasure she's in bed. Upendra rubbed his hands in delight. Just the thought of it excited him. His extramarital relation with Ubdala had remained a secret till a few months ago when Moidal had caught them in bed together in his own house. After the initial shock and embarrassment, Moidal had decided to keep his mouth shut. Why would a father open his mouth and character assassinate his daughter? But had he choice, he would lose his job if he protested. So willingly or unwillingly, he became their partner in crime. But he was upset. His daughter was getting out of his hands, and he was getting tired of managing her waywardness. Since he couldn't take any other action, Moidal had decided that this was a great opportunity to use the rich and the influential man. Udbala had completed her graduation from a local college with poor grades. She had a lowly paid job in a small school at Dibrugarh. Now Upendra Babu will get her a good job in Calcutta. Had not he mentioned that his wife's cousin ran a college in Calcutta? This way he'll be able to kill two birds with a single stone. Udbala will get a good paying job and be kept away from his lusty man who was likely to spoil her chances of getting a good husband here. Perhaps she would find a suitable man in Calcutta and get married. Udbala's intentions were no different. Both the father and the daughter had their reasons for catching the rich man in their net. So after Moidal had unearthed their clandestine relationship, he had demanded a fabulous raise in his salary and a good job for Ubdala. Upendra couldn't refuse, but he was no fool. And now that he had received the court notice, it was time to make the duo pay back for every favor bestowed on them. Udbala, who was working in the relatives' college, would be secretly transferred to the same college where Haridev's twin girls were studying. That shouldn't be difficult, though he would have to pay her a hefty sum. It will be better than losing money in fighting the court case. Udbala will now be the savior of his state. Calcutta, June 1988. There was a continuous chatter of the animated girls in the college premises if a huge flock of sparrows had all of a sudden decided to invade the area. The Lady Yoga College for Girls at Calcutta, that had celebrated its 30 years of existence the previous year, had opened after 2 months of the summer break. At the gate there was a throng of SUVs, sedans and humpbacks, cycle rickshaws, tangas. Parents and their daughters, lugging and their luggage, were rushing in as if it was not a college but a train they would miss by being late. There were unreserved tears, especially on the faces of girls joining the hostel for the first time, and casual goodbyes by the returning students. There was a huge crowd in front of the notice boards. The final year students, who were to be lodged in the first and second floors of the recently constructed west wing of the hostel building, dispersed happily, though not without remarks like, "Thank God we're out of that old airy building, and wonder who's getting the top east." The second-year students trudged towards the east wing a little reluctantly, stating casually, "First and second floors are okay, and I hope no one's housed in the dorm. Not after what happened last year. The principal should have that much consideration." Once the administration lobby was cleared of the seniors, the first-year students stood there uncertainly. They were young and innocent, less assured of themselves than their senior counterparts. It was natural, for they were barely out of the school and perhaps had left home for the first time. Shifting their tired weights from one leg to the other and complaining in whispers, they all stood waiting to be guided. The tired young girls heaved sighs of relief when they finally received the attention of the hostel wardens. They were divided into two groups. The one group will live on the top floor of the west wing and the other on the top floor of the east wing. Revati was one of the 18 girls of the last group waiting to be allotted their living space on the east wing of the hostel. "Come on, girls, those who have been allocated the east wing dormitory," came the booming voice of a hostel warden. "Follow me." Obeying the command, the 18 tired young girls picked up their luggage and trudged behind an elderly lady. "I am Miss Ubdala Bora, your hostel warden. And don't ever forget, I don't spare the girls who disobey me." She received much attention at the later remark. What an introductory statement it was! Thou complete strangers till now. The girls furtively glanced at each other, and immediate bond was established among them. For in that instant they realized they would have to unite against a common enemy. Such was the aura oozing out of the lady, resentful, harsh, forbidding, and the young girls noted it all in the just a few minutes of their association. A short and stout middle-aged woman with salt and pepper haircut, short, fair complexion, high cheekbones. Miss Ubdala would have been a pleasant woman only if she didn't have those small, unsympathetic, piercing eyes and the puckered brows that made the girls uneasy. There was something very abhorrent about this harsh-looking Assamese woman. She accompanied them till the ground floor, the area that was common meeting space of the wing, but refused to go beyond. She showed them the stairs and barked, "Now rush up to the very top, and I don't want to hear any noise or complaints." She then stood, watching them scurrying up in the stairs with narrowed eyes and a strange, unexplained expression on her face. Was it anxiety or doubt? Maybe she is just a sadist. Revati, who was the last one to go, speculated as she slowly climbed up. Nevertheless, I don't like this strange woman. I am going to keep my distance from her. And neither do I like this building. It's giving me creeps. The east wing of the hostel was a time-worn building in dull grey stone. The original grey was now hidden behind the dirty greenish stubborn mildew, and that was wilfully groaning on its walls. Dismal aura seemed to be encompassing the whole structure, despite the administration's effort to bring cheer through a well-kept garden around it. The lobby was a large, whitewashed, sullen space with a few red upholstered chairs and glass-topped tables. But they utterly failed to bring cheer. The narrow, dingy stairs were even more depressing. I am feeling sad because I am used to living in big modern bungalows. Climbing up their decks of stairs, dragging the luggage along wasn't easy. When Revati reached the top floor, she halted at the door. Her nose wrinkled in disgust as an overpowering, stale, moldy smell hit her nose. There was something more unpleasant in the air here. It was cold and unwelcoming, but she was so tired at the moment that she couldn't care less. She badly needed to rest her aching feet, and she entered the dorm without more ruminations. Unlike the other floors that had rooms, the top floor was one large hall. Though the walls and windows had been freshly painted in white and lime green respectively, Revati got an instant impression of having entered some ancient cloister. Small beds were lined on both sides of the dormitory. Each personal space had the very basics: a small cupboard, a study table, and a chair. The place was bland and gloomy, with vile vibes oozing out from every corner. Revati looked for her name tag and dumped her large tin trunk next to her assigned bed. Removing the airbag from across her shoulder, she sat on the chair, rubbing her feet. She roved her eyes around and smiled. Most girls had brought their possessions in tin trunks. Did all mothers think alike? What a fuss she had created with her mom had bought a metal trunk and insisted that she carry her things in it. It'd be so embarrassing, she had protested. As if I come from a poor family. My dad is a naval commander, and what a shame it will be when I carry things in this ancient looking tin trunk. She had pouted her mouth and crossed her arms defiantly. Her mother had calmly advised her, Beta, anybody can cut through the leather and steal your things. Thefts are common in the hostels, I know, but nobody will be able to steal from the solid trunk. Remember to keep it locked at all times. Once she felt revived, Revati decided to organize her stuff. The other girls too were occupied doing things, and she began to notice them. Right across, a dusky and charmingly pudgy girl had plopped herself on the floor. She was removing the contents from her trunk one by one and dumping them on her bed. A beautiful, fair girl to her right attracted her attention next. She seemed distressed as she sat on her bed, massaging her feet. Their eyes met. Hi, I am Revati Banerjee from Jamshedpur. You still tired? She waved at her. The girl smiled amiably. I am Sania Gohen from Dibrugarh. Dibrugarh? Never heard of the place. It's in Assam. My grandfather owns a huge tea estate there. My father works on it too. Oh, are your feet still hurting? Mine are better now. I wore my new sandals and they gave me shoe bites. She responded with a moan. I have a soothing antiseptic ointment. Want it? Sanya nodded and Revati rummaged through her stuff to take out her medicine box. She took out a tube and then went to help Sanya. She sat with her, gently applying the ointment on her wounds and chatting. An instant bond was established between the two. Revati found Sanya a candid and refined girl. Something came upon her all of a sudden. She wanted to protect her, safeguard her, as if she was in some kind of danger. Why she felt like that, she couldn't understand. And for the rest of the days that they were to stay in this dorm, Revati would not let Sanya be alone. She was to become her constant companion, a sister that Sanya never had. Not having been given any attention, the girl from across called out, "Hi, I'm Nitya Sen from Asansol. Want my help?" Revati and Sanya shook their heads and at the same time waved at her. Then the girls got busy settling down. The sun slowly began to set on their first day at the hostel. As the light began to fade, a strange sadness began to creep in. It weighed heavily on Revati's heart. Maybe she was missing home, her mom and dad. She would have to get used to living without them. She lay on her bed thinking of them. "It's 7:30, dinner time, mates," somebody from the far corner declared. "Remember, Miss Ugdala said if we were late we won't get any dinner." "I am hungry, can't miss dinner. Come on, girls, let's go," came a response. All 18 girls hurriedly slipped into their footwear and left together for the hostel's dining hall. The moment Revati came out, she felt her spirits lifting through. Now one of the girls was chirpy, as would be expected. They spoke in whispers. "It's surely dictator Miss Abdullah's influence." Revati smiled at her passing thought. Dinner wasn't inspired, nothing close to home food they were used to. The seniors were eating with gusto, and they couldn't complain and draw their attention. It could lead to being ragged, so the newcomers ate silently. Maybe gradually we'll get used to this bland hostel food, thought Revati. When the dinner was more or less over, Miss Abdullah walked in regularly like a queen, stretching her short frame to look at tall and formidable. The latter was not needed. She anyway looked quite rough and intimidating. "Girls, once again, I am Miss Abdullah Bora, in case you have forgotten my name. I am the oldest hostel warden of this college. Been here for more than 20 years. Joined this college in 1966. She looked around to see how well this information was being absorbed. The girls deliberately remained impassive. They didn't like this woman at all. Her eyes were too restless, unremittingly shifting. She didn't make eye contact with any girl, as if she was guilty, hiding a dark secret in those flitting eyes. Now she continued in her resonating voice, "Except the first year students of the East Wing, the rest quickly disperse." She waited till only 18 students remained in the dining hall. Then she folded her arms, roved her shifting eyes to count the girls, and then snorted. "Pay your full attention, you newcomers. There are the rules you need to follow strictly. If you float any of them, you'll get into serious trouble. Is that clear?" The girls exchanged quick glances. They were utterly disappointed by the rude welcome they were being given by the unpleasant woman. The lights will be switched off at 10 sharp. You don't have to bother about that. I will switch off the mains. The girls looked at each other. Some seniors standing outside the door behind Miss Bora smirked covertly and made faces. Nobody respects this woman, Revati instantly realized. Then, having been momentarily distracted, Revati's attention went back to what Miss Abdullah Bora was blathering. Wake up time will be 5:30. A bell will ring and nobody will be seen in bed after that. 6 will be a better wake up time. Somebody spoke in a timid voice, but mercifully her voice didn't reach the warden. Nobody will use the hostel telephone to call their parents or nobody else. You can call home only once a week from the confectionery shop that you'll find on your path way to the classes. Her brother probably runs the shop. The whisper brought smiles on some faces. What's there to smile about? Huh? Miss Abdullah gave the girls a quick, piercing look and then continued. On Sundays, you can go out to the shop to buy provisions as well as use the phone. A sudden murmur arose from the listeners. Only once a week, some bold girls protested. Draconian laws. Are we in college or in a jail? Somebody whispered. School was better. Shut up, everyone. Stop whispering. How dare you? Next time you utter a word, you'll be out of the hostel. Thou am capable of worse things, barked Miss Abdullah, glaring at the girls as if she was ready to eat them alive. Now go straight to your dorm. I will be following you there. The girls were stunned by her behavior. Why was this woman trying to intimidate them? What were her motives? The new hostlers stormed up their stairs towards their dormitory, grumbling at Miss Abdullah's strict rules. My mom told me to call her every day. She'll be worried if I don't, Nitya moaned. We are not babies that we are to be told when to call and whom to call. And who's she to tell us to talk to our parents only once a week? Is this some kind of a prison? Revati grumbled. And the strict curfew. The lights will be switched off exactly at 10. I'll switch off the mains. A girl imitated Miss Abdullah to almost her exact tone and others sniggered. We must discuss it with the dean tomorrow, Nitya suggested. Wait, girls. Can't start complaining so soon. It could go against us. Sanya opened. Actually, I have some influence. I'll talk to my grandpa. But her words were barely noted. The girls who had entered the dorm shrieked and others rushed up. Once inside, they all gasped. They stood shell-shocked at mess they confronted. Their bedspreads were touzled. Some lay on the floor, but the worst was the area sound Sanya's bed, as if it was the epicenter of an earthquake. Her chair lay toppled, and the table had been swept clean of all her stuff, including her new books. The clothes she had earlier organized in her cupboard lay scattered around. She shrieked the loudest. What a welcome, Revati commented. This is the seniors doing. They are having fun troubling us. Ragging girls, welcome to the famous college ragging. Well, this ragging is not embarrassing or painful. I've heard of really bad things. The girls got busy clearing up the mess they had barely finished cleaning, changing into their night clothes and filling their bottles from the water cooler that stood in a corner of the dorm. When the hall plunged into darkness, the suddenness of it further shocked the already panicky lot. Their screams and squeals reverberated in the hall. "Shut the door! Someone shut the door!" came desperate pleas. "Molly is closer to the door. Please, Molly, shut the door, quick." Someone rushed into the door and made a desperate attempt to lock it. The solid iron latch was large and rusted and imitated screeching sounds. The grinding sound of it being slipped into its groove was heard. After the initial struggle, the girls heaved sighs of relief. That felt safe. Otherwise, the dormitory seemed too unfriendly. "Is it already 10?" came a voice. "I don't think so." "Then they have the lights been switched off so soon." "Where is Miss Subdala? She said she would follow us. I saw her turning away from the main door of the building." The different voices continued in the dark. Then a hesitant voice called out, "I need to use the bathroom." "Don't you have torch, Sanya?" Revti, who was nearest to her, prodded. A lamp at the street level sent up some faint light, salvaging dormitory from absolute darkness. As her eyes got adjusted to the faint light in the room, Revti felt better. She rummaged through her bag and retrieved a torch. She walked till the bathroom door with Sanya and then, handing her the torch, returned to her bed. Revti had once again begun to feel lonely and sad. Had she done the right thing by choosing to join this college in Calcutta instead of a local one in Jamshedpur? At least she would have stayed home. This place was so unfriendly, almost hostile. To top it all, Miss Abdullah was like a spiteful tigress waiting to prey on them. The overall experience today had been so unpleasant. She missed her parents intensely. How they had stood at the college gate, waving at her, bidding her goodbye. Her mom and dad had tears in eyes, and her dad had sad smile on his face. Dad's words rang in her ears. "She's grown up now. We have to come to terms with being away from home. She cannot live with us forever. One day she'll leave us anyway when she gets married. She loved them so much." Tears trickled down Revti's cheeks and she jumped out of her bed in fright. So did the other girls. Some were rushing towards the bathroom from where a strange scream had been heard. A few torches came alive. She quickly wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Sanya is in the bathroom alone," Revti shouted and ran behind other girls. They found Sanya sitting on the floor of the first cubicle of the toilets in a corner, gasping and shivering. "Oh my God, what's wrong with her?" "What happened, Sanya? Are you not well?" Many voices asked in concern. Sanya tried speaking through her chattering teeth, but nothing more than some gurgling sounds emerged. The girls helped her up and brought her to her bed. Someone poured a glass of water. The whole group was 17 girls stood around her, patiently watching her, holding the glass in her shaking hands and slowly sipping water, trying to get composed. Revti sat with her, stroking her back lovingly. She was alarmed by the way Sanya was trembling. It took Sanya almost 5 minutes before she managed to narrate her ordeal. She looked around with her panic-filled eyes and whispered cautiously, "There's somebody in the bathroom." A few girls with torches rushed to check. They returned in a minute, shaking their heads. "The bathroom is absolutely empty." "No, there was someone in the bathroom," Sanya insisted through her sobs. "I was inside one of the toilets when the door rattled." Then a very strange voice like a ghostly voice repeated a few times, "Kill, kill. I didn't have the courage to came out, even though I assumed the seniors were trying to scare me. I remained inside the toilet waiting for them to go or one of you to come to check. She looked around at the girls accusingly, her eyes finally resting on Revati. Didn't you realize I had taken unduly long in a bathroom? The girls looked at each other and shrugged. Nobody had really bothered. Sanya continued. When it was all quiet, I slowly came out. There was no one there, but I felt a distant movement behind me. I also felt somebody touch my back and then pull my hair. I turned to confront the culprit, but there was no one. At the same time, one of the bathroom doors opened on its own, slowly as if someone was pushing it open. I aimed the torchlight inside. It was absolutely empty. And then the same ghostly voice said, Sanya, kill. The whole place was filled with strange vibrations. She paused here and frowned. It was then that I realized there was something airy there. It was so damn scary. I felt suffocated and couldn't move. With great effort, I managed to scream. The girls stood passively listening to her. This place is haunted, I tell you. With the toss of their heads, the skeptic ones immediately dismissed her claim. Others shivered. Sanya, don't be ridiculous. It was a prank played by someone, perhaps, like you said, by the senior students. But there was no one inside the bathroom, not a single soul, no one that I could see. And I don't think any of the seniors know my name, not yet. Tears were streaming down Sanya's cheeks and she wiped them with her scarf. It was too scary. I'm sure it's seniors trying to frighten us, innovative way to ragging us. They must have to go to know your name somehow, Revati declared with conviction. I think so too. Nitya seconded her opinion, though hesitation was apparent in her voice. Others nodded. This was probably best explanation, but how did they enter the dormitory without being noticed and left it too? Was there a secret passage that they had used? And how will you know that it will be Sanya using the bathroom alone? Thou Revti's rationalization had helped Sanya gain her composure. The doubt remained in the mind of each girl. Girls, no one goes to the toilet alone from now. Let's go in a small groups. Be cooperative. There's a safety in numbers. Come on, Sanya, relax and go to sleep. It's been a long day. Revti urged, and the other girls slowly dispersed for a restless night at the dorm. Revati could not fall asleep for a long time. What Sanya had experienced was weird, but was it real? The bathroom was exclusively built for the dorm. There wasn't any outside entrance to it. Then how could anyone enter and disappear so fast? She and Sanya were together the whole evening. There was no way the seniors would have known Sanya's name. They hadn't been introduced, and even if they knew her name, how did they recognize her in the dark? She tossed and turned endlessly. She was used to her room, her space, her home. This new place made her uneasy, very uneasy. The dormitory was also weirdly cold and depressing. It made her sad. It took her a long time to fall asleep. It was a disturbed sleep, full of nightmares. She dreamed that Sanya was screaming to be rescued. Someone was trying to kill her. She wanted to take her away to a safe place but couldn't move her. Sanya had turned into a stone statue too heavy to be lifted. She woke up highly agitated. Her nightie was wet with her sweat. She glanced at the clock. Two needles of her new clock shining in the dark gave her creeps. It was midnight. She sat up and drank a few sips of water from her bottle. It was then that she heard the distinct sound. Someone in heavy boots was climbing up the stairs. The sound stopped outside the dormitory door. Then it reappeared. The footsteps were retreating, going down. Is that Miss Ugdala on the round? Does she do often? In the middle of the night? When does she sleep? Someone was again climbing up the stairs, clearly, loudly, and leisurely. Rafti slowly fell back into sleep, deeper and calmer this time. Someone was awake and watching over. So this is all for part 1 today. See you soon with part 2. For that you have to subscribe, like and share my channel if you haven't. See you tomorrow very soon. Have a good sleep, have a good night, and be in thrill horror. Stay safe.